Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and welcome to another edition of the Midnight Black Mass. Glad to be back here on this sultry southern night here in the great hills of Tennessee at the compound. I am your host, the maniacal minister, the occult, the devil you know, the dragon, the Reverend Dan Wilson. How the hell are you? And welcome also my co-host, my partner in crime, a man who finally has an appearance to advertise, the Southeastern Strangler and the matchmaker of Empire Wrestling, Andrew Alexander.
That's right. We're back on the Black Mass. Empire's back. Back to the attack. About time. It's long overdue.
It's long overdue, and Southern Wrestling is just on fire right now. We've had such an amazing few weeks down here south of the Mason-Dixon line. Some attention from all over the world has come to our little region here, showing people exactly what kind of talent we have down here, and what we've been saying for years and years is finally getting realized that they're as good as anybody in any region of the country. And the Scenic City Invitational showed that. I think that's the first thing we can talk about here. There's so much to talk about. This episode is just going to be focusing on what's been going on the Southern scene, because we've been right in the thick of all of it here over the last few weeks. Man, what a weekend the Scenic City Invitational was. Like, I had high expectations, and it exceeded them by leaps and bounds. Fans from over 17 United States and the Great White North of Canada converged on Chattanooga, Tennessee for the Scenic City Invitational Tournament, pitting 16 of the best athletes in the United States, showcasing many of the top stars in the South, as well as some traveling stars. Guys like Chris Hero, an independent legend, one of the best independent wrestlers of all time. The young up-and-comer Leo Rush from Ring of Honor, who stole the show with Anthony Henry on night one. We had Matt Riddle, the former UFC fighter, who one of the best professional wrestlers I've ever seen at his experience level. What a great attitude that guy had. And, whoa, that guy blew me away. He's going to be a superstar. So it's great to see these guys coming in. Of course, you had Jimmy Rave, who's had travels all over. It was a who's who, and the eyes of the wrestling world were on Chattanooga, and that just blew me away. What about you, man?
I wasn't there for night one. I heard about it. I heard it was some amazing stuff, and I did partake in night two, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a sight to see. Like I told the fans there that night, I had a little announcement. It made me glad to be retired, man, because these guys are taking stuff up a whole different level, hard-hitting, fast-paced action. It's insane, man. And you mentioned some guys that, I thought Anthony Henry had an amazing showcase on night two. Really kind of a coming out party for him. He's really been blowing up on the independent scene, which I know was a long time goal of his. Not everybody has everybody may want to compete in the WWE, but that's not the main goal for everyone, right off the bat. And I know that guy just wanted to be an independent star first, and he's really getting there. And I thought my friend and yours, Kyle Matthews, had a hell of a showing for himself. I did watch the match he had in the main event of Night 1 with Chris Hero, and man, he went toe-to-toe with one of the best in the world, as he's done before, but this was a whole different level for him, I thought.
Kyle had been a guy who'd kind of been off the radar for a few years. I talked about this on the live podcast that we did for Somehow We Managed over at the Woo Wrestling Network there at WrestlingWithWords.com, who hosts that site and was a sponsor of the event. We had a great podcast session there with myself and Al Getz and Jeff G. Bailey and Chris Hero, and it later morphed into a Q&A with Tank and Matt Riddle and John Schuyler and Jimmy Rave, and the fans just loved that. It really had the feeling of like those old fan conventions from what I always gathered. I never got to attend anything like the Smoky Mountains Fan Week, but people that were there that had said it had a very similar vibe, where it's like this fellowship and camaraderie and love of professional wrestling, and like just sharing that. And man, if that don't re-energize your love for the business, then you don't have any left. That weekend it made me feel so complete. But talking about Kyle Matthews, he had this run where he'd take a little break from traveling. He's still out competing, but just staying close to home because he just, started a family, kind of like I did a few years ago. And, once my daughter's gotten old enough to where I can take her with me to shows, and, it's not, she doesn't have to be watched like a hawk 24/7. Relatives are much more eager to help out as well. So you can get out there and make the towns still, but, you have to have that. If you're a good parent, you really need to take that break to try to be close with them in those early important years, because that's when the bonding is so important. So Kyle did that, because he's a fucking solid dude. And so, he's kind of fallen off that national radar, and I think that match with Chris Hero put him right back on there.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. And the crowd there, the reaction he got on night 2 was amazing. And that goes to show you that you can come out of a match on the losing end and still be better from it when it's done correctly. And that's exactly what happened there, because he was as over as anybody on that card, and he was in the opening match that wasn't part of the tournament, a 6-man tag, and he was as over as anybody that wrestled that night. Anybody.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing, and all because of his showcase with Chris Hero. So I thought that was awesome to see. Billy Buck had a great match on night 2 with Anthony Henry, as I'm sure he did on night 1 with True to Life. Billy Buck and Anthony Henry, man, that was amazing. Seeing those guys, because I've known those guys a long time, seeing how far they've come, it's great to see what happens when you get out there and you apply your trade and just work on getting better. And that man Gunnar Miller, man, I've known since the first time I saw him how good he was, but you look at when Empire had its last event in our home base in March, Tooth and Nail 5, March to August, he's been out there traveling, working some different promotions, working with Jeff G. Bailey directly, and working some different talent and learning more. The improvement he's made from March to August, just a few months, is mind-boggling. It is insane. If that man does not have a WWE contract, sooner rather than later, it is an absolute travesty.
He's a guy I've said many times, you don't have to tell him twice about anything. And he had a very interesting story over the course of the 2 nights, because his first round match with Michael Judas, sometimes it happens, folks. They just didn't click. There was just something off about that match. And, the people knew it. And so Gunnar Miller came into round 2 behind the 8 ball, and he knew exactly what he had to do to go back and win that audience over. And most guys, let me tell you, most guys would have buckled under that pressure. Gunnar Miller did not. He was forged in the fire, and Joey Lynch in that second round match forged himself a little bit as well, because he ended up getting a lot of attention, and I know of a lot of big-time independent promoters that have already been hitting Joey Lynch up to bring him around. So fans across the country, you're going to probably get to see pretty soon with Joey Lynch and the Lynch Mob what we've known here at Empire for the last 5 years.
Yeah, which luckily for us in this area, he just happens to be the Empire Heavyweight Champion, and saying that a week ago or 2 weeks ago may not have really mattered for his schedule, but now it matters big time because we are back coming off the big announcement I made at Phoenix City Invitational Night 2. We're coming back. We actually had a show, a little benefit show at a church, local church in Fort Oglethorpe this past weekend, just to get that rust off of some of the guys and getting used to setting up that ring, setting up that production and getting ready. But on August 28th, Sunday afternoon in Rossville, Georgia, we're going to have our summer mega event, Crazy from the Heat. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. But Joey Lynch, he's an Empire homegrown guy. So when he's out there making his name, that does good for us. That does good for this part of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been involved in his development there with you at Empire, and, it's just great to see these. That's what it's all about. It's what it's always been about, is to seeing these guys apply themselves and get better and take it to the next level, because new stars are the lifeblood of this business. This business does not survive without new stars, and the independent scene is hotter than it has ever been. It is a whole new era. Anybody is one match away from somebody of importance seeing you, and the opportunities have never been greater. With all the spots open in WWE, they're hiring all the top indie guys right now. Guess what? Those spots now open up with those guys had at other places. So guys move up the ladder. New blood emerges, and things like the Scenic City have done just that. Again, you mentioned Billy Buck. I think he was an MVP of night 2. Again, what you mentioned about showing more in the loss sometimes than in a victory. I think Billy Buck did just that in the match with Anthony Henry, and Henry is poised to break out all over the place. He had a hell of a match with Strychnine at Why We Wrestle at the Summer of Hate mega event a few weeks ago, which is available now on video on demand for $9.99 at realhouse.org. That's REELHOUS.org, and you can see that match along with a whole host of others. So really excited to see what Anthony Henry's got coming down the pike. Of course, just announced today by Jeff G. Bailey, he inked the contract himself. Gunnar Miller's going to be taking on a guy he met in the finals of the Scenic City, Anthony Henry, in Cornelia on September 24th. And, of course, you just mentioned Crazy from the Heat. Miller's got another one of his Scenic City final opponents there, and Jimmy Rave has been announced earlier today on the Empire social media. So the matches and the buzz around Southern Wrestling, man, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, and that's some big matches for Gunnar Miller, and big matches for his opponents too. That match with Jimmy Rave, that one-on-one contest has been a long time coming, since last year's Scenic City Invitational, and so now we're pitting the winner of the first tournament against the winner of the second tournament, one-on-one. And this match was actually Jimmy Rave's idea. He was eliminated first in that final four-way at the Scenic City Invitational by Gunnar Miller, and that rubbed him the wrong way. And I understand, being a competitor, and you're a guy that's traveled around the world for over 15 years like Jimmy Rave, and then this upstart Gunnar Miller, and as much as he's taken off and as good as he is, when he beats you, you don't take too kindly to it. So Jimmy Rave wanted the rematch, and Gunnar Miller's not one to shy away from a challenge. So we made it happen. So Crazy from the Heat, that's one of the featured matches.
Yeah, that's a match people are clamoring to see, so you definitely want to get up to Rossville, Georgia on the 28th And the night before that, Gunner's got another challenge in Cornelia at Why We Wrestle, the biggest challenge yet, which makes me wonder, what's going to happen on September 24th when he faces Anthony Henry, because he's taken on the undefeated Why We Wrestle heavyweight champion, the Lethal Dose Strychnine, Gunner Miller, also undefeated. So this is one of the biggest heavyweight championship matches, if not the biggest, in Why We Wrestle short history, coming off the heels of that Anthony Henry Strychnine match.
I tell you what, if you're a lady out there, we don't talk about this near enough anymore on Midnight Black Mass. I just want to throw it out there. If you're a lady out there, you would be wise to jump on the dick of Gunner Miller, because he's going places.
And I believe we heard our producer, the great Fast Eddie Layne. There was an involuntary reaction. How's it going, Eddie?
Wonderfully well, and damn, I found my smile after that. Thank you, Andrew.
That's what I do.
You're a good man, my brother. There's a sainthood in it for you.
So Gunner Miller is just this kid is just blowing up, really having a banner year. I don't know who's had a better year in 2016 than this guy, especially in our area, and that's the entire South. But so Scenic City was just it was, like I said, it was one of those events that just rejuvenated your love for the business. It was really cool getting to meet fans from different states. And these are guys that had followed, our stuff for years. And, I used to watch you on Wild Side, and that means so much to guys like us to come and share that with us, to know that there were people out there that actually gave a damn about what we were doing. All these different places just blew my mind. The Hale family, from some part of them from Chattanooga, part from Virginia, they were instrumental in sort of organizing the whole fandom side of the weekend and all the various fan activities at the hotel. And those guys were just a treat to hang out with and talk to. And the patriarch of the family, Papa Hales, who's like the coolest old dude you ever meet. And such a knowledgeable wrestling fan. These guys can school me on some shit when it comes to wrestling. It's just so cool to get to say, because normally there's that barrier with the fans, and you want that, especially a guy like me. I want to keep that mystique. But an event like this, it was for the diehard fans in a lot of cases, so they knew what was up. So you can open up to them a little more, and it just became this wonderful, unique atmosphere, pretty much unlike anything I've experienced in independent wrestling in 17 years.
Yeah, that's saying something, man, because you experienced quite a bit. So when you have events like that, and they do happen, but there are few and far between that kind of remind you of why you do this and why you love it so much. It's special, special for people in the business. So I think it's special for the fans too. They know they were seeing something special, and the Phoenix City's going to be back next year, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I know it's a year away, but it's something to be excited about.
The fans are already excited. The video on demand is out. You can purchase it at WrestlingWithWords.com. I believe it's $12.99, if I'm not mistaken, for 2 nights of action. That's a hell of a price point. There's not a better value, and the fans on Twitter are going crazy for it. SCI 2016 hashtag is trending currently, so you definitely want to get on that train and get you your copy today. Another thing I want to say about the SCI, getting to work with the broadcast team I got to. Me and Al Getz returned. We were the original SCI broadcast team from 2015. And we, this time, had from Combat Zone Wrestling, MLJ, and from CWF Mid-Atlantic and PWX, Brad Stutz. And those guys were all class. It was really a treat to get to work with some other commentators of a really high caliber, because not to insult any of my peers in the South, but, beyond guys that have been doing this a really long time, you're usually the one, in my case, I'm usually the one in the driver's seat, teaching these guys, having to be the guy running things, for lack of a better word, in the commentator booth. But, when you got guys that have performed at a high level and you work with them, then it's like you experience a different level of quality, and it really excites you. And it was really a treat working with those guys. They were also very cool, very personable. And Chris Hero, can't say enough about Chris Hero. He was a true leader. Like, he really stepped up and embraced everybody on the card, and everybody looked at him for guidance on their matches, and he was very helpful with guys like laying stuff out, and just like a total class act, like blew away any expectation I had of the guy. And like, if you're not booking that guy, you should be. Anybody out there. So SCI, man, can't say enough about it.
I agree. I agree with that statement. He was, because sometimes when you work with some of the bigger talents, bigger stars in wrestling, you never know what you're gonna get and what to expect. And sometimes they're just not a pleasure to deal with. Sometimes they're very, very not willing to help your show. They're just kind of there for their own benefit, and I didn't see that in any way, shape, or form from Chris Hero, and really from Matt Riddle, a couple of the other bigger stars in independent wrestling right now. I didn't meet Leo Rush, but Matt Riddle was also a pleasure to have around, and a really cool guy.
Matt Riddle, yeah, he really was. I got to spend a little bit of time with him, both nights and some a little bit after the show on Friday. And what a down-to-earth, cool dude, and a guy that just connects with the audience. Like, a lot of these fans, you had your, like, diehard fans that bought all the ringside tickets, and then you had your casual fans that numbered in the several hundred, that were up in the bleachers for the most part. And Matt Riddle was a guy that connected with every one of those people instantly. Like, that guy is a draw. I don't know what his booking fee is. I haven't got around to asking him yet, but believe you, I'm gonna.
Yeah, he was very popular. He was very popular with fans and some of the boys. So yeah, he's another guy that you definitely want to scoop up on your show if you can.
Yeah, for damn sure. So, hate to transition from the good to the bad, but we'll get back to the good as we talk more about some Empire and why we wrestle stuff, as well as Warzone Wrestling I've got coming up in Knoxville, Tennessee this Saturday night, August the 20th, where I'll be managing Death Wish Brad Cash and Strong Style Psycho Tank, the Devil's Rejects, against Christian Lotus and the innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer. That's going to be a huge card. Don't want to miss that. That'll be at the Halls Powell Boys and Girls Club in Knoxville, Tennessee. Find them on Facebook, Warzone Knoxville. That's coming up. But so one of the big news items this weekend in Dudley, Georgia, and it certainly was a dud, apparently. There was a Legends Fest this weekend, and it was another one of these sad tales of this Mark fucking idiot books all these legends. And I mean, did you see the poster for this thing?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, B. Brian Blair, Ron Simmons, Tully Blanchard, Davey Richards. Help me out here, Eddie. Who are some other people that were on there?
Oh, Lord, there were so many things. I know that a good friend of mine, Francisco Chiazzo, was booked on this one and actually helped save somebody's ass on that. I thought I had it here on the desktop, and I apologize. It has come up missing.
Sonny, B. Brian Blair, it was like 5 rows of legends with like 6 or 7 people on the line. Ron Simmons, Bill Eadie, like all of these fucking people.
I think I did see that a couple weeks ago, actually.
So,
Here it is.
When you see a show with that many names, like, you're even suspecting it's going to happen, right?
Hey, Dan.
But it happened, and the names showed up. Every one of them, apparently.
Real quick, let me do this light speed. Arn and Ole, Orndorff, Tom Pritchard, DiBiase, Nikita, Tully, Barry, Bob Armstrong, Ron Simmons, Dutch Mantell, Raven, Ricky Steamboat, Larry Zabisco, Bill Eadie, as you said, Joel Deaton, Sabu, who's hopefully going to be getting ready to have surgery soon. I'd like to hit that one a little bit later in the show. Tracy Smothers, One Man Gang, Ronnie Garvin, Two Cold Scorpio, Johnny Swinger, Dell Wilkes, Dead Oats, Joyce Grable. And I've got about 2 more breaths full of people, but you get the basic idea, folks.
That had to have been a $50,000 card, right? I mean, like it had to have been. So this guy books this show. They all show up. Like some of them even ended up getting screwed on their flights and hotels. Of course, the money wasn't there. Surprise, surprise. There's also a wrestling show as part of it with a bunch of indie guys, and some of them stayed, some of them left. But of course nobody got paid. And then the follow up to it is apparently Arn Anderson was like jerked him up by his neck collar in front of everybody and told him he was going to spill his blood or some such shit. But so they followed the guy to his fucking mom's house where he stole her checkbook and wrote a bunch of bad checks to the guys, which of course none of them cleared. And the guy is apparently going to jail for fraud now.
Yep. Oh, I thought it was Arn Anderson. I think that was the name that I was heard that snatched his car keys and refused to give them to him.
Oh, wow.
Man, this sounds amazing. I wish I should have went to that. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall.
And apparently there were more debacles. So apparently it was at this high school. When people got there, they were like, is this place fucking like evicted? Because apparently the windows were all busted out and boarded up. And then the AC didn't work. So it was like 1,000 degrees in a high school gym with no AC. And then the toilets in the middle of the show exploded and shit water ran everywhere.
Doo-doo water?
Yeah, buddy.
Wait, so all of these names showed up? Like, why would they do that without getting paid first? I've never heard of such.
Brother, I have no idea, but everyone got stiffed. Every one of them. So that's horrible.
Sonny was there?
Say what?
Did you say Sonny was there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I would love to went to that show. She could have got stiffed by me. What a great fuck or fail segment that would be. Am I right?
That's your next field assignment, pal. So you better get on it.
God, I've wanted to do that for 20 fucking years.
Well, it's 2016. The possibilities are endless, my friend. So.
I could boldly go where lots of guys have gone before.
So yeah, so
I could see some sunny days.
you very well could. So we need to get on that. But so Legends Fest was a bomb, and so then now there's like 2 prevailing arguments coming out of it from people who were there. There was like, it's really hard to fault anybody because I couldn't tell you what I would have done in any given scenario because the people paid their money, and apparently it drew okay, and the bands all paid their tickets, and so.
Actually, Rev, allegedly from the information that I was given earlier today, this person had made the statement and shot off their mouth that they had sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 110 to 120 VIP packages for the event, and the reported attendance was 130. So that meant if they had 120 on the VIP sales or packages sold and then 130 in the house, that means technically they had 10 people paid over the VIP level.
True. Okay, well, but anyway, so there was allegedly, people there, and so the argument was, do we just walk on this motherfucker, or do we stay and at least, not give wrestling a bad name in the town and put together some semblance of a show, even though we're getting fucked. And a lot of the guys did, a lot of good boys. Logan Creed, who's a hell of a talent and a good dude. Frankie Ciazzo, as Eddie had mentioned, those guys stuck around and made sure that the people that paid their money still got their money for it, even though they didn't. And that's fucking commendable. And there's a lot of other people who were like, fuck that, I'm not getting paid, and so I'm not doing shit. And, it's hard to argue with that either. Now, some people were saying, well, if you hung around and took free mark picks with the legends, since that's how they pay their fucking bills, then you should have hung around and worked the show. And it's hard to argue with that either.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, man, wrestling is it's full of fucking scumbags.
It is. So, when you have something great like the SCI, it really makes you appreciate it even more when another one of these disasters occurs from another crooked promoter. All these guys want to do is, get booked and apply their craft and make what money they can. And, this guy wants to play promoter and just hang out with a bunch of legends. And, well, it's going to cost this guy this time. Looks like he's going to the pokey. So let that be a lesson to you idiots who think you want to run a wrestling show when you don't have the slightest clue.
Yeah, I don't. How fucking stupid you have to be. Like, why do you think you would get away with that and not get in any sort of trouble? People are morons.
How did you think you'd survive it, much less get away with it?
Yeah, I mean, because you named some guys that could just kill you, just murder you. I mean, Arn Anderson, Ron Simmons? Like, these are guys that I do not want to trifle with.
Yeah, not guys you want to cross. So, really feel bad, hate it for all those guys. Guys like Arn, I'm sure with his WWE money, it didn't probably put him a big killing on him or nothing, but some of those other guys, they probably are relying on spots like that to make things feasible. And, it's you're really cutting out of their income, because not only did they not get the payday, well, they had to pay for their flights and their hotel. So, that was already supposed to be covered by this guy.
And where did you say Dudley, Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that I feel that's a real. Is that a real place?
Apparently.
Where the fuck is it?
Yeah, we lost Reverend for a second. Hang on a second. Folks, tell you what, everybody listening on the live side, tell you what, we are going to take a brief one, and as soon as we get Dan back in the system, I'm also going to look up Dudley, Georgia, and see what we can find. Bear with us. This is the Midnight Black Mass on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network and ProWrestlingRadio.net.
Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Howdy, friends. This is the Magic City Motormouth, Fast Eddie Layne, with your invitation to join yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman and the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, every Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, for Beyond Ringside Live. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com for all of upcoming show information, and of course, catch us on social media as well. Until then, we'll see you this Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, for Beyond Ringside Live on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
The To Be Determined show live Wednesday nights, 9 Central Standard Time. Join myself, the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, the Grand Design, Clive Braddock, and the Magic City Motormouth, Fast Eddie Layne, as we take you to the edge of uncensored. Yes, we go uncensored, so make sure you have your earmuffs. Ask your parents, for those of you that are a little young, maybe under 18, but make sure if you have any heart conditions or any mental defects, please listen, because they may take effect right here live every Wednesday night, 9 Central Standard Time. Beyond Ringside Radio Network, BeyondRingside.com.
What's up, everybody? It's Stan Grubb for Corner to Corner Wrestling Radio and the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Hey, join us every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as the triple threat of wrestling radio goes live every week, giving you their thoughts and opinions on the world of professional wrestling. Myself, Brian, and Rob, all live, all here for you. And as my good friend Rob would say, from corner to corner and pillar to post, we bring it to you every week at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. BeyondRingside.com and ProWrestlingRadio.net.
And we're back on the Midnight Black Mass, talking about all the recent happenings in Southern Independent Wrestling. And Eddie, actually, you've been involved with AWE recently. You've had a lot of buzz. I heard they just recently wrapped up their season 3 and are taking a little bit of a break. What's that about?
Well, there have been some scenarios in play where there is a changing of the guard and some dirty dealings as far as the front office goes, technically speaking, where Josh Wheeler has been deposed as the president of Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, and he who has been referred to as PayPal Stan, i.e. Stan Robinson, has showed his true colors in a very unorthodox coup to take over as the new president of Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Well, he feels that I was at the season 1 premiere doing commentary, and you mentioned MLJ a little while ago, and I will sit back and say this. Emil and I had a chance to call some matches, and I had a blast working with him. There was a great energy between he and I, and I'll work with him 7 days a week. Also had a chance to do commentary with the guys from Kick Out at 2. Had a great time working with them as well. Looking forward to working with all three of everybody again in the near future. But Stan felt that he was being disrespected by the fan base, and he felt that if they couldn't respect him as the leader of AWE, then he could put the show on hiatus. Well, they just did a double bill this past Saturday. They did a take 2, did a school show, and I don't have that one directly in front of me, but they were back at the famous pub this yesterday in Atlanta. And for Summer of George Part 3, well, basically, Stan basically showed, he said, look, you can't respect me. I don't have to respect you. We're on hiatus. So Stan Robinson took basically the reins and said, hey, guess what? We'll be back when I'm ready to come back. So they've just started season 3 with 3 great live events. And I'm waiting to find out what's going on because, unfortunately, because of contractual commitments, I was not able to make Saturday for Season of George Part 2, nor was I able to make yesterday at Famous Pub. And a lot of that was also the fact that I got sick earlier in the week and still haven't gotten my voice all the way back. And you know me, I'm a perfectionist. But I'm going to be in touch with the front office, and I'm going to see, because I've just recently signed on to do commentary with AWE and tremendously humbled at the opportunity. And I thought we were getting ready for some really great things, and all of a sudden Stan decided, it's like, nope, we're done. We're on hiatus. We're taking a break. It's like, really? Wow. So I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of repercussions coming out of it. You mentioned Hero a minute ago, and I had a chance to catch Death by Elbow, he and JT Dunn in action last weekend at the Fanatics Arena on Campbellton Road. These two guys are absolutely electric in the ring together, and they faced off against the Kraken of the hierarchy, Chip Day and Murder One, and that was just one hell of a match. So I'll sit back and say, look, a lot of people have question marks. I have none. If you get a chance to see Death by Elbow, Dunn and Hero in action as a team, or Dunn in singles and Heroes in singles, buy that ticket and get ready to have some fun, because they will light it up at the drop of a hat. Rev?
Speaking of Chip Day, he also had a great showing in the SCI. Had a huge upset in many people's eyes, given the size difference against Odinson in the first round, and they really brought it. And then in the second round, he went down to Chris Hero in a hell of an effort. And, it was a match I know Chip had wanted a long time, so I was glad to see him get it, and he really showed that he could hang there. And so that was great. And lots of things I want to talk about with why we wrestled just really quickly here before I let Andrew kind of close things out with his Empire announcement, since it's back in the fold. But, of course, Summer of Hate happened, and we had a big preview, and I won't go into all the details because there is so much, but you can get the VOD, as I said before, at realhouse.org. And on August 27th, While We Wrestle returns to the church in Cornelia with another huge card. As we mentioned earlier, it'll be Gunnar Miller taking on the While We Wrestle heavyweight champion Strychnine for the title. 2 undefeated men facing off one-on-one, but that's not all. Had a lot of surprise returns lately at Anarchy. A guy who's been gone for a few years, but has definitely had his share of success in the church. Adrian Hawkins came back this past Saturday, attacking Trevor Eon, who got a win over young up-and-comer Chase Jordan. Eon is building quite a bit of popularity. Jordan got a hell of a response himself, eliciting a howdy doody chant, and but he really showed off his technical skills, and he rolled with it, and he certainly went with the crowd's reaction against him, and they were totally with Eon, so it made for a great dynamic, and it was a great match. But Eon pulled out the victory, and Adrian Hawkins, who is moved out to Arizona, the last I'd heard, made an appearance and attacked Trevor Eon and stated, that it was a shame people forgot about the veterans like him, and he's going to put the young punk Trevor Eon in his place. So coming up on August 27th, they're going to square off one-on-one. Going to see the former Anarchy Television champion Hawkins back in the ring against this young up-and-coming rising star, this Eon, who has this unique charisma that's really starting to connect with the people there. He's a guy who the light bulb has recently gone off. You know when that moment is, and it's usually about 5 years in. When you really start understanding what your value is and what you do well and what you don't do well and how to put that whole package together. And he's starting to do that. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. That's going to happen on the 27th. This past Saturday on the 13th, we had the While We Wrestle women's division launching, the first ever women's division in the history of the church in Cornelia. Going back to Wildside, we've had women's matches and a lot of great women competitors coming through there. ODB, Daisy Hayes, Alexis Lurie, who went on to become Mickey James, and a whole host of others came down and participated. But there was never a full-fledged division. There was never a full-fledged division in Anarchy. That has now changed. It's 2016, with women's wrestling being the next wave, in my opinion. Felt it was high time to institute a women's division. And so we're rolling with that. We had the debut match with Dementia DeRose with her manager, The Carpenter, taking on Nina Monet. And these gals brought it. They threw some shots in this match that would have buckled some of the toughest dudes on the roster's knees. I mean, they knew what was at stake, and they went out there and left it all in the ring. The fans were extremely happy with it, clamoring for more. So While We Wrestle is going to give it to them on August 27th. We saw her debut on the 13th as a member of the Southern Bastards crew, the powerhouse Jessica Lee. Bobby Moore's replacement for Wade Adams in the SBC is going to be taking on the superhero of women's professional wrestling, Super Aja Pereira. So that's going to be one hell of a matchup. That's going down, and we've got the big 6-man tag. Okay, we saw it at Summer of Hate. It was the Get Along Gang, this time comprised of CB Suave, Marvelous Marco, and Gilquest. Only 2 of those 3 wrestled in the match against the Lynch Mob, Matt and Joey Lynch. Lynch Mob scored the victory. There was an extra man there. Of course, they jumped him post-match 3-on-2. Lynch Mob said, well, if they want to try to jump him 3-on-2, they got a man to even the odds. So they went up to the local Moccasin Bend mental health facility and have gotten a weekend pass for their brother, the Maniac, and he is coming to Cornelia, Georgia to help them even the odds against the Get Along Gang.
Holy shit. That's, man, I feel sorry for those guys. I feel sorry for lots of people in that scenario, but that'll be an interesting match for sure. Is he bringing the Muji Bear?
Does he go anywhere without it?
Not that I know of. So
well,
is that to change for the better? Question mark.
I've been told that they've bought 2 cases of Mountain Dew for the ride down for the Maniac. So that's going to be quite an interesting affair. The fans in Cornelia have never seen the Maniac. If you're from the Chattanooga area, you know what to expect. You have seen him. They let him out on a weekend pass much more often locally. They had to get some special restrictions and permission slips signed for this, but it's happening. The Maniac is coming to Cornelia on August the 27th. Get along, gang. Better be getting along, because they have no idea what they're in for.
They definitely do not.
So that's what's going down at Wild Wrestling. A whole lot more. We've seen the recent with Jacob Ashworth and Nemesis, the war that escalated into the bull rope match at Summer of Hate, and it was Nemesis who pulled out the ether rag and choked Jacob Ashworth out and defeated him, gaining the right to make Jacob Ashworth his slave. And so we saw that in action on the 13th. When they arrived at the building, Nemesis made Jacob carry his bags. He made him shine his shoes in the back. He put him in a tag team match with himself because he said that Jacob wanted to be his partner so bad he was going to be his partner. Nemesis wanted to get some tag gold. So they faced the Southern Bastards crew, and it didn't go so well because they couldn't get along, of course. And Cyrus the Destroyer destroyed Jacob, but Jacob's going to get possibly a chance at redemption. I'm hearing rumors that Nemesis has been talking to the SBC after this match, and I hear we might see Jacob against Cyrus one-on-one on the 27th. The little bird told me that's a possibility. So Jacob's going to have his hands full there, but I believe there's going to be more than meets the eye to that situation as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the tag team title situation, and that I'll probably close out the While We Wrestle stuff with that. What a crazy road that has been. So we have the tag team tournament. In round one, Billy Buck has to have surgery on his eye from a freak accident related to him stopping legitimately 100% not wrestling bullshit. He stopped a robbery, and the guy's knife scraped his eye, and so he had to have eye surgery, like LASIK, and he got it, but he missed the first round. So Slim J was the alternate, teaming with his partner James Drake. In the first round, they defeated the Viking War Party. They moved on in the tournament. Buck and Drake went on to win the tournament and win the titles, defeating the Hooligans and the Dark City Fight Club in a three-way dance, which was one of the favorite matches so far of the reviews that have come in for the Summer of Hate VOD. And the next week, we find out James Drake is not going to be able to meet the 30-day defense requirement. So Billy Buck announces he's going to have to forfeit the titles 2 weeks out of winning them. And Slim J comes out and says, "Nah, man, I helped you out in the first round. I help you out again." Well, here comes the Monarchy, Black Baron, who's one of the top travel independent stars right now. He just stole the show at FIP in Orlando last Friday night. And then also he's appearing for Tier 1, and his tag team partner, Prince Apollo, a guy who has just risen like a star in the church, is another Mr. Hughes trainee, and this guy really knows how to get under the ire of the fans of Cornelia, the man with the iron pinky. And so they come out and goad Slim J and Billy Buck into putting the titles on the line, and matchmaker Danny Only comes out and asks if this is something they're sure they want to do, and they agree. So match happens. Well, if you recall, at Summer of Hate, Slim J wrestled Kevin Blue. They said a lot of horrible shit about each other before the match, really personal. Blue attacked Slim's mother. Slim attacked Blue's wife. It was not a pretty scenario. And so in the match at Summer of Hate, they fight. That ends up in a DQ, and there's really not a match. It's just a brawl. And they get pulled apart, and that's that. Well, Kevin Blue comes out to observe this tag team match. Of course, Slim J sees him, sees red, jumps on him. While all this has happened, Billy Buck is trying to make the big tag, and Slim's nowhere to be found, and Billy Buck ends up getting beaten and losing the titles to the Monarchy. So Slim and Billy get into a little shouting match after the match. Kevin Blue has a match with Supernatural, gets a big victory. From up in the back on the screen, it appears that there's a disturbance in the locker room. Slim J and Billy Buck's argument is continuing, and it's escalating. And then it goes to blows, and they start beating the hell out of each other, and the boys had to come and separate them. And just a crazy roller coaster turn of events.
That sounds insane. Billy Buck and Slim J going to blows. Like, I can't believe it. Hopefully cooler heads will prevail, because, I mean, that would be a hell of a contest, but I don't know if I really want to see that. Those guys have known each other a long time, but, you know, sometimes things get heated, so maybe that'll calm down. But,
well, here's
stuff going down there.
Yeah, you know, here's what's going to happen there. They've agreed to come and try to let cooler heads prevail, but they are competitors and fighters at heart, and they feel like the best way to settle it is in the ring with a clean match, one-on-one. And so that's what's going to happen. Come the 27th of August, you're going to see Billy Buck versus Slim J one-on-one. To try to settle whatever this beef is and put it behind them. But one has to wonder what Kevin Blue has in mind for this situation, because I don't think it's any coincidence he's intentionally trying to mentally torture Slim.
That Kevin Blue, he sounds like a jerk. I don't think I've ever met that guy. Sounds like a little prick.
that is the reputation that he upholds.
I mean, everything I hear is Kevin Blue's a prick.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong. So check out Why We Wrestle on social media, on Twitter, Why Do You Wrestle, on Instagram, This Is Why We Wrestle, on Facebook, This Is Why We Wrestle, on VOD, realhouse.org, and the new YouTube channel, This Is Why We Wrestle, with free content coming up weekly. We got 2 big matches coming up this week with the tag team title match, as well as Michael Judas and Gunnar Miller, who had the redemption of all time in their main event. You know, we talked about them not really clicking in round 1 of the Scenic City. This was the entire opposite scenario. They had the entire arena on their feet with the dueling "Let's go Judas, let's go Gunnar" chants, and they were bringing the leather. And Jeter appeared out of nowhere, costing Judas the match, and looks like Gunnar Miller, of course, is going to go on to that #1 contendership. So that's what's going down at Why We Wrestle. We're almost out of time here, but before we go, Andrew, give them the final rundown on what they need to know about Empire Wrestling.
Empire Wrestling returns at Rossville Rec Center August 28th. It's a Sunday, 6 p.m. with a special pre-show at 5:30. So you can get in there, get out early enough to get your kids to school Monday, go to work Monday. It's going to be a good time. The main event, Joey Lynch defending the Empire Heavyweight title against the former champion, the Butcher Bobby Hayes, and the #1 contender, the Strong Style Psycho Tank. Triple threat action for the Empire Heavyweight title. And as we mentioned earlier, the 2 winners of the Scenic City Invitational, Tournament 1 and 2, Gunnar Miller and Jimmy Ray going one-on-one. Also announced Kyle Matthews versus Drew Delight for the first time ever in a match of this magnitude. Also announced, based off what happened, I've mentioned we had a show this weekend in Fort Oglethorpe. Chris Gans will be defending the Empire Junior Heavyweight title against former champion Ryan Vega. And Matt Fortune has requested a rematch from Tooth and Nail 5 against Bobby Moore, who you were just mentioning. And he'll have his manager, as always, Steve Dave, who is also a little prick. And that I know for a fact. So that's just what we have announced so far. And it's less than 2 weeks away, man. Empire's return. And hopefully this will be the start of a relaunch of how great Empire was before, and hopefully us traveling. And if you've never seen Empire, maybe we'll come to your area, and it'll be a little easier for you to get there. But if you have, you know what to expect at our mega events, and you should definitely be there on August 28th, 5:30 p.m. is the pre-show start time.
Are you ready to get crazy from the heat? Empire Wrestling. So happy to be back. I'll be there myself with bells on, and I can't wait to see all of my Chattanooga area fans once again. Fast City Layne, anything you got to add before we wrap this, homeboy?
It is going to be a crazy weekend on my side of the board. Of course, Friday nights you can find me down at Buffalo Wild Wings in Alabaster, Alabama. Start time 9 o'clock p.m. for Friday night karaoke. If you like to sing, if you know someone who does, or you just want to get out of the house and chill for a while, see you Friday night at B-Dubs in Alabaster. This coming Saturday night, I am back behind the microphone with Peach State Wrestling Alliance in Carrollton, Georgia. Central Elementary School, the place to be. For my friends over in Eastern Alabama, definitely come on. Short drive over to Carrollton. In the main event, the Heritage title, triple threat match, Tommy Too Much, and the Gladiator, and Jimmy Rave. This is going to be fun. Cameras are going to be rolling for a DVD taping. Like I said, I will be back behind the microphone alongside of David Pierce. Doors open at 7, bell time 8 p.m. Check out PeachStateWrestlingAlliance.com. And, of course, we're back in full swing here on the station. This past Sunday, a lot of things going on, and I thank you to Reverend Dan and Andrew for both being able to do tonight's show on short notice. It was just kind of like, you know something? Why don't we do a Monday thing just for the hell of it? Because I've never done a show on Monday nights here on this station, and I would always enjoy the Midnight Black Mass. Folks, we're back at it Tuesday night, GCW Radio at 8 p.m. Central, maybe 8:05, and Back to Basics will be at 9 p.m. Central, maybe 9:05, with very special guest, the King of the Southeast, Francisco Chiazzo, coming on board. Rev?
That's all we got for this Monday Mass edition of the Midnight Black Mass. You might even say it was raw. Keep 1 foot in the gutter, 1/5 in the gold for Andrew Alexander and Fast Eddie Layne. I am the Rev Dan Wilson. Good night.